Welcome to the WDW Reflections podcast. Here, we'd love to talk about the Walt Disney World Resort, the way we remember it, how it's changed, and why we still enjoy visiting the most magical place on earth. So come with us on a podcast journey as we reflect on the WDW Reflections podcast. Hey y'all, welcome to the WDW Reflections podcast, your unofficial guide through Disney World and all things Disney memories and their connections to the parks we know and love today. My name is Dewey. I'm one of the hosts of the show, coming to you from my home in Delaware. And this is episode number 48 of the WDW Reflections podcast. We thank y'all for being here with us. Before we get into this episode's main topic, we'd like to invite y'all to connect with us through the show's social media accounts and maybe have the opportunity to become involved as a contributor to future shows. We can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at WDW Reflections Podcast, and on Twitter or X or whatever you're calling it these days at WDW Reflections. And don't forget, for all things WDW Reflections Podcast, head on over to our website at wdwreflectionspodcast.com. All right, with that out of the way, let's get started with the show. With me today are my podcast travel buddies, Ron and Tony, coming to us from his home in Cleveland, Tennessee, my good buddy, Ron. How's it going, Ron?
Hey, it's going well. Looking forward to today's show. And I normally don't say a lot, but as far as show administration and things like that. But I just want to remind our viewers and listeners that we really do like to hear from you and would love to hear some feedback. We don't get a lot, but we get some. And when we get some, we really like to respond and enjoy it. So I would just encourage you to reach out to us and talk to us. We don't like one-way conversations. So, but I'm looking forward to today's show.
Yeah, we have been getting a little bit more. Maybe the show's growing or whatever, but I know that we're getting some comments and stuff on a lot of the videos that Tony's been creating for the show and on our social media pages and stuff. So it's starting to happen. So please, if you're hearing this show, definitely reach out to us. If you listen on Spotify, each one of the episodes has a little question that you can answer. Usually we try to make the question something about the topic of that episode, but really we would just love to interact with you guys and hear what you think. So definitely reach out to us. That's a good point, Ron. Thank you. And then coming to us from his house in the Big Apple, my buddy Tony G. How you doing, Tony?
I am doing pretty good, or as they like to say in Disney World nowadays, especially in the middle of August, happy Halloween, guys.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that. Today is the 13th of August. We're recording that Sunday morning. You may be listening to this at another time, but we're recording Sunday morning, the 13th of August. And last night was the first Boo to You or whatever they're calling it nowadays. So yes, Tony, happy Halloween, buddy. August 13th.
Wow.
That's
well,
hilarious.
my wife is full blown in joining with Disney and has already started decorating our house for the fall. Thank you very much.
That's crazy.
Haven't even
we live in the
summer.
South. It does not feel like the fall. I can guarantee you.
Look, I'm in Delaware and it doesn't feel like the fall, you know? I mean, I always complain about the weather in Delaware, that it's never warm enough. And like, it doesn't get warm enough to swim for me up here, being a Southern boy and all, but you know, it's August. It's still pretty warm. And
it's still summer.
Well, yeah, until it was September something. I don't know, like, I don't remember what the date is.
I could see it if it would. Me and her have this, but she likes, anyway.
Look, I know why Disney's doing it, because they make big
dollars.
Bucks, right?
My wife just
parties.
loves the fall and pumpkin spice.
Oh God, she's one of those.
Let me tell you, we get everything pumpkin spice.
Oh, that's horrible. I don't even want my pumpkins to smell like pumpkins. I definitely don't want my house to smell like pumpkins. Oh, anyway, but hey, I hate the smell of coffee, and for most of the world thinks coffee smells delicious. So maybe it's my nose that doesn't work, but I don't
Yeah,
like the smell of
probably.
coffee, and I don't like the smell of pumpkin. So you put those two together, boy. Anyway, happy Halloween, Tony. That was great. All right,
Christmas.
dude, you
That's
say that.
September.
No, I know. I went into Hobby Lobby and they had a lot of fall stuff. And I'm like, man, I'm surprised they don't have their Christmas out. And the clerk said, "Oh, just keep going back. We've got plenty of it." And I'm just like, I was kind of joking.
It's 2 aisles over, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what's funny is I was watching some of the streaming of the opening night of the Boogaloo parade, and some of the vloggers that were videotaping are dripping in sweat in the middle of this thing that's supposed to celebrate fall.
Well, I remember as a kid living in Arkansas. I mean, on October 31st in Arkansas, you're still sweating in your costume. I remember as a kid being just sweating through Halloween costumes,
That's not the case here. Usually it's usually raining or very cold. Where I came from, you always had to wear a jacket over your costume. And the
Yep.
same with where Jen lived. You couldn't even see the costume because she's upstate New York. It was always snowing. So it was like no one even knew you were wearing anything.
I bet Dew has the option of snow or cold.
Listen,
Halloween.
I remember it always used to make me so mad because, I grew up in Arkansas and it's always, nice and warm at Halloween. I can remember when my kids were little, my kids are 20 and 16 now, but when they were little, especially my daughter, because she was always the princess dresses and everything for Halloween. And I remember we used to have to she was Belle one year. She had the yellow ball gown. And poor thing had to wear like it was like a black long sleeve Under Armour kind of shirt or whatever underneath her Beauty and the Beast ball gown because it was so cold.
Still see the gown, but
yes, it's terrible. Why would anybody want to live like that? I'd rather sweat. But anyway, we're talking about Halloween in August. That seems crazy, but not if you're talking about Disney World. So they're selling them tickets, y'all. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the main segment for this week. So this week, we're going to get back to one of our favorite segments, something we call the Triple R Challenge. By now, if you've been listening to the show, you've definitely heard us frequently use the phrase, or maybe seen us post on our social media pages, the hashtag #refurbishnotreplace. And that's in regards to Disney's unfortunate habit of destroying an attraction in order to create a new one in its place, instead of just adding something new. So the three of us talk about that kind of stuff all the time. Why would they, for example, why would they destroy the Great Movie Ride, which was, a work of art, to put in the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which is a fun attraction. I enjoyed it. But what would be better? What would be better is to have them both, right? Keep the Great Movie Ride, update it. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with adding some stuff or changing the scenes, whatever. But you don't have to destroy one to create another one. Just add it. And now you got more bandwidth in the park. You have another attraction to throw people in. But so that's kind of where the idea of this came from. So when we tackle one of these episodes, we're going to put on our Imagineer hats. We're going to select a Walt Disney World attraction, and we're going to make the big decisions for the future of the park and answer the big question. Should that attraction remain as it is? Should that attraction be refurbished? Or should that attraction be completely replaced? So that's what we're doing today. The Triple R Challenge. Remain, refurbish, replace. So we decided we're going to hit the Magic Kingdom in this episode. If you remember, the first Triple R Challenge we did, we went with Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular over in Hollywood Studios. So we put together a list. It looks like I've got 7 attractions from the Magic Kingdom on here, and I don't know if they're one of them is probably going to cause a stir, but my wife put that, and she wanted to put that one in there. That was her. So if you're mad at number 1 on this list, get mad at her, not me. So what I've done is I've put the 7 attractions into an online randomizer. So you basically hit the wheel. It's like Wheel of Fortune. It spins, and it's going to tell us what attraction from this list of 7 we're going to discuss today. So here's the list: Peter Pan's Flight, Country Bear Jamboree, Tomorrowland Speedway, Mickey's PhilharMagic, The Mini Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, and this one's not really an attraction, but something that I think could use some attention, Tom Sawyer's Island. So those are the 7 that are on the list. So
I have opinions on all of those.
Well, that's the idea. That's the idea. So let's see. I'm about to hit the randomizer. All right, the wheel is spinning, making me dizzy.
Where's Vanna?
All right, here we go. It's slowing down. And the winner is the Monsters Inc. The Laugh Floor. Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor. So that's what we're going to be talking about on today's Triple R Challenge. All right. So who wants to go first? Anybody want to tackle that one first? Ron, you said you have opinions on all of them, right?
I do.
You want to start?
Sure, let's do it. I think this is a fun attraction. We don't hit it every time though, because it's somewhat very similar shows every time. And so once you've seen it, a few times, right? But you always know that they're going to pick the audience member, and anyway. But yeah, I like it. I don't know that you could refurbish it enough to make it. I don't know. I'm struggling with this one.
Now, just a minute ago, you said you had an opinion on all of these.
I did, but this one was not at the top of that opinion list.
So
probably
let's start this way.
To do some better, to make it more random, and to where it's not always the exact same jokes.
And that's the thing, that maybe when we say refurbish this one, maybe we're not talking about special effects or the seats, or maybe we're just talking about the script.
Yeah.
You know,
make the script and don't do one and say, okay, here you go. And I mean, make it really random where you have 20 scripts that you could go through, and maybe some of them be completely different from even how they interact versus, just make it so random that you just never know what you're going to see, and enough that you want to keep going just to see. You may have one that you really enjoy, but you won't get to see that. Who knows when, if you have enough scripts. So I think that would be fun.
So the thing is, I mean, if you think about the script on this, and every time, and I'll be honest, I still think it's funny, but every single time it's, that guy, right? The old guy or whatever that has to buy everybody churros, and, that's funny, but I mean, goodness gracious, this show's been around for a decade at least.
I've not been there forever.
Yeah, more than a decade.
It's been there since when wow. We had not been as a family in some time, and it was there for our second or third visit.
Yeah.
So that's quite some time.
Yeah, it's probably approaching 2 decades.
It really is. What did it replace? I can't remember.
It was the timekeeper.
Yeah.
That was the most recent thing. It's been a few things. Let's see. So Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor opened April 2nd. You're gonna love this. 2007.
Mm-hmm.
2007. So I'm not good at math.
No, like you're saying, it's almost 2 decades.
Yes, absolutely. So okay, let's see. That's 15 years ish. It could certainly use a new script. It could certainly use a new script. And I know every once in a while they'll throw in something a little different. There's, they started last time I went, which is on this attraction, was probably 4 or 5 years ago, and they were doing like Flags of the World or something. And that was kind of funny because the alien, it was that two-headed alien, and they kept referring to Paris as a country or something. I don't know. It was silly. But that was, they pick an audience member and ask them where they're from, and then they write a song about Paris and wherever that person's from. And it's like a 30-second song that they just, and I'm sure it's the same song every time. They just put in place the new place that person's from. And they talked about a landmark or something that was particular to that area. But that's really the only new thing that I can think of. It's always still Mike Wazowski's nephew that comes out and tells a joke, and then it's always the alien that can read minds or whatever. Those are the openers, I guess you could say. And so it could definitely use a new script. So Ron, you're saying refurbish. You want it to stay Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor.
Yeah.
But you want them to work up some new scripts. That's where you're going.
Absolutely.
All right. So for Ron's Triple R challenge, she's going with refurbish. All right, Tony, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I'm thinking this attraction has a lot of brilliance to it, in the sense that you've got a bunch of stand-up comics backstage who are able to improvise suddenly based on whatever the audience is providing, which is a pretty good concept to go along with what the theme of the movie is. And I think if they can add a little bit more, like Ron was saying, make it a little bit fresher, if they're going to keep this, I don't have a problem with it, because it's also a good spot to go to cool off or cool down or to rest for a bit while you're running around all day. You can go in there. I used to like to go there toward the end of the night, when things are winding down. You just go in there and cool off for a bit. So I think that it could use some refurbishment. It could use fresher jokes, but again, that's going to require that you've got comedians in there who are able to think on the fly, which I've seen so many cast interactions lately that seem to indicate that they are casting people who understand that and who like to improvise and who like to be funny. And so we need more of that. I'd say it can be refurbished.
So you want it to stay.
Yeah.
You want to keep the Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, but same as Ron, you just want a new script.
New script, and I think it also but a new script would involve having people also who can improvise more, like Turtle Crush. I mean, you would think that once you've seen Turtle Crush, you've seen Turtle Crush. Yet each time you go, it's kind of a different interaction. It depends on the talent that you've got back there who's able to. I keep saying Turtle Crush. Sorry.
We talked about it on a couple episodes ago.
The same thing
you
last
said the same
time.
thing.
Turtle Crush. But I think I think you need someone who can be I think the live interaction is what would make it a lot more fun, is having more of that kind of thing, because we don't know where they're going to go. They used to have the thing where you used to text the joke. Do they still have that?
Yes, you can text in a joke, and that's I think that is the segment that I can't remember his name, but Mike Wazowski's nephew, the little one-eyed guy.
Yeah.
That is the segment that Mike Wazowski's nephew hosts. And
So they just save it
reads,
probably for just that one section, maybe, and everything else is
yes,
canned. That's
yes.
probably what maybe they can expand a bit and just have it throughout the whole thing. I know it's hard, but a lot of these people are really funny. They've been hiring a lot of people lately, especially the street sphere people who've come around. I've seen them say really funny things on the spur of the moment. So I think they can, get the guy who plays the Mad Hatter or something in there, because they always come up with something that's really funny.
Yeah, so Tony, I could see that, and you always refer to Turtle Crush, Turtle Talk with Crush, and you're right. That one is never. I haven't done it in a while, but I can't say I've ever heard the same. It doesn't seem to have a script. You know what I mean?
It has
seems
those
like
moments where they, where the pause is at, where you'll always see some kind of interaction that's the same, but the interaction with the audience is really fresh always.
Yes, absolutely. And part of that is because kids ask silly questions,
right?
And they got to think on the fly, but
they think on the fly and they keep in character so well.
Absolutely, and I definitely think Monsters Inc. The Laugh Floor could benefit with a little less structure. And I know it's a little bit different. The idea of the show is a little different because they're doing stand-up comedy and everything. Maybe that puts them in a tighter box or something. But I think that when you're comparing those two, that there's definitely one that is better than the other. You know what I mean? And I think they paint themselves into a box adhering to that script all the time. Turtle Talk is much more, it flows better, and it's there doesn't seem to be a script, maybe a very loose outline.
Mm-hmm.
So you say refurbish and just tweak the script.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to probably surprise you guys, and I would say I would replace it. We've
Any
already
ideas with what?
Of course you would, because you never stick with what you'd say.
Well, I stick with what I say
for
most of the time. It's the classics. You know what I mean? And
true.
There's some things you don't mess with. And, for example, y'all are probably surprised that I didn't have It's a Small World on this list, or things that I
was surprised.
Triple R in the Magic Kingdom. But that's because that is a Walt Disney era attraction, and you just don't mess with that. You just don't mess with that. It's while I don't enjoy it and I don't go on it, it's been years since I've been on it, probably since my kids were young enough to, enjoy that sort of thing. But that's what when I'm thinking about, refurbish, not replace, or whatever, that's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of those kinds of things. If they went and got rid of, I don't know, any number of things throughout the parks that's 10 or 12 years old, I don't know that I would be that upset. But
you gotta stop and think about the next generation, that those are the original. And so I think that I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you, but I think that we have to take into account that is Disney to some. And like My Girls, that is an original.
That was their time
for them, And so when they go back to Disney and they don't see it, it's going to be similar to your experience, where Imagination was part of your experience and it's no longer there.
You're right. My kids are about the same age as yours. I think
Yeah,
Your
similar
oldest is
ages.
a couple of years older than mine.
Yeah.
And
My youngest is your oldest age.
yes, she's the same age as my son, so they're roughly the same age. Within 5 years of each other, I guess,
Right.
probably.
Yeah.
And so the laugh floor is definitely something. I remember the first time I did the laugh floor, we were there for, ironically enough, a Halloween party, and one of the places where you got, how you get free pictures when you
Yes.
you go, one of the places to get your picture taken was right outside the laugh floor.
Mhm.
And so we've got a picture of all of us, and I think it was even before, man, it probably wouldn't have been before my daughter was born, but she was really young, and they're in Halloween costumes or whatever in that picture. So we went on it then, and so it's been around since they were little. You're completely right about that. So
all I'm saying is I'm not saying that you don't, that I'm not trying to discount
yeah
what you said, but at the same time, it would be interesting to hear somebody from that era see their opinion on it.
And I know that I'm walking a very fine line of being hypocritical, because if we, like, what I said just a minute ago, I wouldn't be upset if they got rid of most of the stuff that's only 10 or 12 years old. But if they did that, then nothing would ever be classic, So
True.
I get that I'm maybe on the border of being hypocritical, because I'm so critical of Disney when they take away something like a Horizons or a World of Motion, or something that was truly special. But that's just my opinion. Maybe Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor is truly special for, like you said, our kids' generation. So
I don't think so, but maybe.
it's possible somebody is in love with that attraction. So with that said, and at the dangerous precipice that I'm approaching here, I'm going to be a little hypocritical, and I would actually replace it. To be honest with you, I don't know. Maybe I don't even know what I would put in there, because I wouldn't put. I don't know. The movies are hard, because, and I think things like Star Tours and Tower of Terror, where it's kind of different every time you ride it. I think those multiple ending kind of attractions have spoiled us a little bit, because you don't know what to expect. So you have that rewrite ability, and some of the stuff is a little predictable, which is kind of what's happened with the laugh floor. But I don't know, it's really hard, because if I think about it in that way, Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean is the same thing every time, but I still absolutely love that. So maybe I just don't make any sense at all. Maybe I don't know. I don't know.
Well, the thing is, it might make sense to have that replaced with an actual Monsters Inc. attraction, like what they have in, I think it's Japan or something. But that one is immense and huge. That little space is not going to accommodate that, and they're not going to build anything out there to do that. So we have to think about what they would use that little space for, and trying to keep it in tune with the theme of the land, which is, it's kind of the first thing you see when you enter Tomorrowland. So maybe they can do something that harkens back to that old theme, if they could somehow land on a property or a film that makes people want to. Like if that last movie they'd done, which I can't even remember the name of it, it's something about the adventure, I don't remember whatever that was called. If that had taken off, maybe that's what they could have put in there as a Tomorrowland type of adventure. But it just, they'd rather keep with the classic theme of what they've got, because it's easier, and it's a small space, so they've got to figure out a way to use that to do that with.
Yeah, it's a theater.
It's a theater, right?
There's
Like you mentioned before, it was built for that for the timekeeper.
Yes. And I'm trying to think what was there before the timekeeper even. I think American Journeys was over there. I'm not 100%
Do you
sure.
think that we're beyond the time of cyclorama movies? Like if they replace that with something that surrounds you, is it past that time now?
Well, if you think about it, they still have them over at Epcot. Canada's got one, the Circle Vision.
No, but I mean as a brand new attraction, if they were, I just thought of something that they could do is if they Marvelized it, because the Marvel kind of fits in with the Tomorrowland theme, Iron Man something or
Yes.
another.
But then, of course, you have to remember that only certain properties are
Right.
allowed in
Yeah.
Florida because
Right.
of the deal with
Hmm. Universal.
whatever Universal.
Mhm.
So that's why they've got Guardians down there, but they don't have Spider-Man and Captain America and all that kind of stuff. So
I'm actually surprised that this has lasted all these years. To think that it's been there for 15 years, when it seemed like kind of just a way of putting Monsters Inc. in the park in a space that they had available. And I think it's still pretty popular, right?
I mean, look, Magic Kingdom is always a mob scene. That joint is
That's true.
crowded. So
Except lately, according to the news.
well, but even still, even when they say crowds are down, they don't mean crowds are back to the level they were in 1987.
Exactly. Or
You
like when we
know,
used to go, I was looking at some of that yesterday. Someone was going, "Well, I can't believe how much space there is." And I'm thinking, that looks like how it used to look when we used to go.
right?
And it
Absolutely.
was crowded for us then.
That was always the way it was back
Yeah.
then.
Right.
So, I don't, it's always busy. It's always busy.
Hmm.
And so that people are just walking in there because, like you said earlier, it's air conditioned, right?
Yep. Yes.
So, and I hate when people say, people used to say that about what you call it, the universe of energy all the time. It's like 40 minutes in an air conditioner, I can take a nap. And that bothers me. It's like, if you need to take a nap, go back to the room. Why are you spending so much money at Disney World? But that place Magic Kingdom is always so busy. So that, sure, Monsters Inc. is busy sometimes, or most of the time. It's like a 400 seat theater. So it's going to be busy, but the Circle Vision movies, the China and the Canada ones, are never that busy. Last time I went and saw the Canada one, there was maybe 50 people in there, with me. So
What's across from Monsters Inc? Is it still it's not Stitch
nothing.
and nothing right now?
No, Stitch has been closed for a couple of years.
See, so they've got
And
to refurbish that whole kind of area there.
yes, and there's been rumors for a long time that was going to be a Wreck-It Ralph attraction.
Okay.
But I mean, the first Wreck-It Ralph is over 10 years old. And
They need to bring back Visit to Mars, except make it much more incredibly instead of your seat just sinking in, make it much more
Journey into space.
yeah, do something, make it really cool, and
Which
bring
they
back
have the
some of
technology
that
now.
classic Disney Future World stuff.
Absolutely. And just think, I mean, with what they were able to do with that restaurant, they can actually and what did with the Star Cruiser, they'd be able to make those windows much more realistic and make it a much more realistic experience based on what we know of space since 1970. So
Right.
that'd be great.
Right.
And we're kind of getting off topic here because now we've crossed the street over to Stitch.
Yeah.
But I love that idea. They still got the circular seats like it
Yeah.
was when it was first. It was Mission to Mars. Well, before that, it was something to launch to the moon or something. I can't remember when the park opened in 71. But we are in the middle of like a 10 or 20 year plan to go to Mars right now. NASA and the real world. So I think that's a great idea. But getting back to Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, I don't know. I
But
think maybe I've just seen it so many times. I've probably been in that thing 50 times. So maybe
wow.
that's why I want to replace it. Now, the kids loved it when they were little. So we would do it multiple times on a trip, 2 or 3 times a trip, because you could
But
always get into that.
but dude, it didn't even dawn on me till we were just talking about this. It's the first thing you see when you go into Tomorrowland. What does that have to do with Tomorrowland? and,
Well, look,
and we think about Stitch as well. I mean, what in Tomorrowland is Tomorrowland? It's just those rockets and the Carousel of Progress. Is that all that's left?
well, yeah, I mean, honestly, Tomorrowland is really just a name now.
Yeah,
There is no cohesion, there's no, and that's always been a problem. Walt Disney talked about that in the 60s, the early 60s, when they were getting ready to do the first refurbishment of Tomorrowland and Disneyland. By the time you build Tomorrowland, it's already yesterday,
yeah.
so Tomorrowland is really just a mess. um it really is. What does
Yeah,
Monsters
well,
Inc.
I
have to do
agree
with
with you
Tomorrowland?
definitely, but where does Lafleur become future? I mean, there's
Yeah,
no connection there.
no connection.
Not even trying.
No, there's not at
And it's
all.
just I'd never noticed that until just now, though. So I guess it worked, but still.
So I don't know what you put in the place. You know, and just off the top of my head, I'm trying to think of something that like a Disney property that is futuristic or something that
It would have to be
could.
something Marvel because that's what they're lacking in there.
Right, but then
But
you're
they can't.
stuck.
Yeah,
Like you could throw in something with Tony Stark. It'd be
yeah,
really awesome. In Captain America in
yeah.
the first
Yep.
Avenger, where they have the floating car at
Yes.
that would be amazing there. But
Or even the World's Fair scene that he's got. I don't remember which movie that was, but harken back, have a Tony Stark animatronic standing there
that
going.
that's what I'm talking about from the
Yeah,
first Avenger,
yeah,
where they have it's Howard Stark when he's showing off it's like 1950s car or whatever. So it looks like a 57 Chevy or something, but it's got the hover wheels or whatever. But I'm
or
guessing
even since Captain Carter's taken off since that What If thing. I mean, she's available everywhere. Maybe do something with Captain Carter
something. Yeah,
or
I
What
don't
If or
know.
something.
I think the thing with Universal says they can't use any character that is currently in an attraction
Right
at
there.
Universal.
So she's one
So
that's not.
right, she would be okay. You can't use Hulk because they've got that green Hulk coaster.
Hmm.
Can't use Spider-Man. And I think that extends to characters that they have been using over at Marvel Superhero Island, which is like character meet and greets and stuff. So you can't use Captain America and all that. So
Right.
Spider-Man's out, Doctor Doom's out. So I don't
Well,
know.
if they ever do the Fantastic Four, maybe they could do that because that's kind of futuristic-y.
It is. And I'm trying to think. There's not a Fantastic Four attraction, but I think I can't remember if you
Probably at
can
another
meet
Universal
them.
ride.
Yeah, not an attraction, but I think that they're there for meet and greets,
Ah, okay, the thing
if
and
I'm
stuff.
not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't remember for sure. But I think that's a great idea. I think that they could, and Disney wants Marvel over there.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, maybe do right now the whole multiverse saga is big. They could do something with Kang or something. I don't
Right.
know. I don't know. But I would do something. I would definitely do something to replace Monsters Inc. the laugh floor. I would do something new. And I think something with the multiverse or something with a character that they're allowed to use in Florida because of that Universal deal. I think that's what I would do for sure. So sorry, I'm so hypocritical, Ron. I'm always talking about not replacing stuff, and then I'm going to say replace it. I think I said replace for the Indiana Jones one too. So I'm 2 for 2 for being a hypocrite. My bad. All right. So let's move on over to the next segment. And Tony, you were the inspiration for what we're going to talk about in what's happening around Walt Disney World.
How's that?
Well, just a few minutes ago, you wished me a happy Halloween in August, right?
Right.
So I thought it would be fun to talk about some of the characters that are out, special characters that you can meet this year, and this year being 2023. In case you're listening to this podcast in the year 2037, you'll know that we're referring to the Boo to You parties in 2023. So there's some special Disney characters that you can see only for these Halloween parties. So I'm just scrolling down the list. Over in Main Street USA, you can see, and tell me if you surprised, did you ever think you would hear these two words together? Vampire Mickey. So Vampire Mickey is one of the characters you can see at these parties. He's wearing like a purple top hat and a purple, I don't know, the pants almost look like the wallpaper in the Haunted Mansion. He's got a long purple cape and everything. So Vampire Mickey, if that interests you, you can see him. Of course, you can see Jack and Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas. They're pretty cool looking characters. You can see everybody's favorite alien. You can go see Stitch. But if you remember from the movie Lilo and Stitch way back when Stitch is dressed up like Elvis, you can see Elvis Stitch over in Tomorrowland. There's some Doc McStuffins characters that I don't know anything about because my kids are older, but they're, I guess they're dressed up in Halloween costumes. And then there's Vampirina. I don't know who that is. I'm too old for that stuff. But Timon, which I've tried to figure out how he fits in. He's over at Tomorrowland. You can find him at Cosmic Rays Starlight Cafe. So I don't know how Timon fits into Cosmic Rays, but
I think he's. I don't know how he fits a Cosmic Rays either, other than he's eating the chicken. But aside from that, I think it's because they brought out a bunch of the classic characters that haven't been around for a bit.
Okay, so and maybe he was just hungry. I don't know. Over in Storybook Circus, you can see not Pirate Mickey, my bad, Pirate Goofy, which I've actually seen him before. Gosh, 15 years ago when we went to a Halloween party. So Pirate Goofy, he's over by Goofy's Barnstormer, of course. You can see, and this one's new. You haven't been able to meet these guys before, or at least in a long time. The seven dwarfs are out for meet and greets.
To scare the children.
and that's kind of cool, because it looks like the picture that I'm seeing is all seven of them together. Yeah. So it's like you with the seven dwarfs. So that's kind of cool. That's pretty
cool. I've seen one or two maybe.
You see them in the parades normally. And then I think I've got my picture with Grumpy before, long ago. So, that's kind of cool. And then, there's a lot of the princesses are out, of course, Cinderella and Rapunzel and Tiana, Ariel, Belle and Gaston. Gaston's always fun to see. All the Pooh guys, Pooh and Tigger. I've seen them way back when my kids were little. They were all wearing Halloween costumes. I don't know if that's what they're doing now. But I remember back in the day, like Tigger was dressed up like a skeleton and stuff. So maybe that's what they are. This is just a list, so it doesn't show me a picture of them.
I saw Donald was dressed as an acorn somewhere.
An acorn?
Yeah.
He's kind of shaped like an acorn, yeah. I guess that makes sense. Tweedledee, Tweedledum, the Mad Hatter, the Queen of Hearts are out around the Mad Tea Party, so that's cool. The Cadaver Dance, I don't know if you know what that is. So it's like the Dapper Dance, but they're dressed up like ghosts from Haunted Mansion, so that's pretty cool. Jack Sparrow's out. Aladdin, Jasmine and Genie, Jafar, which I haven't seen Genie out in a really long time. So that's pretty cool. So some pretty cool characters that you don't normally see are out. So since it's only August, if you're listening to this right now, you still have time to go to see some of these characters if you can still get tickets to one of the Halloween parties over at the Magic Kingdom. But that's just a little bit about what's going around, what's going on, what's happening in Walt Disney World right now as we're recording this episode. So Tony, Ron, happy Halloween in August of 2023.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
For $179, you can enjoy yourself at Disney.
Yeah, you can get your picture with Elvis Stitch for the low price of $179. Woo, happy Halloween. All right, so let's head on over to the last segment of our show on the WEW Reflections podcast. This is a little something we like to call What's Your Favorite? Each episode, one of our hosts brings with them a question to ask the other two guys. Those two hosts don't know the question ahead of recording, and they must answer that question on the spot. This week, I'm going to take the reins of What's Your Favorite? So here you go, fellas. This is this episode's What's Your Favorite? So the reason this popped into my head is because you guys heard that they are eliminating the reservation system for most folks. Cast members and AP holders are still going to have to deal with it a little bit, but for most regular folks with tickets, they're going to eliminate that at the first of next year, 2024. So along with that came some announcements that they're going to be doing, continuing and expanding and all that stuff, the extra magic hours. So my question to you is, which do you prefer? What's your favorite? Are you a morning riser or a night owl? Do you like getting up early and heading to the parks early for that extra magic hour in the morning? Or do you prefer those late night extra magic hours at the end of the day when the parks close and all the regular Joes got to go home? You get to stay in the park for an extra couple of hours. So what is your favorite extra magic hour? In the morning, before the park opens, or in the evening after the park closes? Go ahead, Ron.
This is hard for me. When I was younger, I always wished that the parks would stay open later because you get that coolness that comes at night, and you just the magical of all the lights, and the older I get, though, the earlier I find that I like my bed better. But
Hard to stay up late.
But on vacation, it's different still. But I also find myself much easier to wake up. But I think if I look at this from the full picture, which means my family, I'd have to go with late night, because if it's going to be early morning, I'm going to be by myself. And sometimes that's not a bad thing. I've actually gone when it's early, because we rarely see a rope drop, because my wife is just they're slow goers, man. They're when they go on vacation, they go on vacation time, and it's so. But I think I'm going to go with night on this one.
All right, so we've got one night.
Good question,
magic hours. I hope we haven't done it before. If we've done it before, just ignore that.
I don't think we have.
Okay, good. It's a genius question. Good job, Dewey. All right, Tony, what do you think, man?
This one is extremely difficult for me too, for the same reasons that Ron's saying, except that I tend to be an early bird, especially over the past several years. So I like getting to the park as soon as I could. I used to, in fact, when we used to go on holidays where we would stay somewhere close to the resort, there were many times that if I was with my family and they were late starters, I would just run into the Magic Kingdom by myself early in the morning and do what I had to do and be back before any of them even woke up. And I'd already ridden like half the park. I kind of preferred that because I was an early bird, although thinking about it, I don't know if I'd be able to do it. However, based on my recent experience at Disneyland, as we had discussed, if you look at the videos and pictures that I've been sharing, there aren't too many at night, and that's because by 8 o'clock we were wiped out, and that's partially because we had early morning entry, and we had to be online at 7 o'clock to get there early enough to be inside. So I think by 8 o'clock you're just wiped anyway. So I think I still would prefer the morning, although I had many times to explore the park at late night. There was one of those times that Disney, maybe about 15 years ago, they had one of those things where they had really late extra magic hours. Where I remember being at the park at it was 3:30 in the morning, and we were riding on the carousel. And I remember looking at my watch, going, "This is pretty cool," because we'd been at the parks during the day. We went back to the resort to rest for a bit, and then that night at about 10 o'clock, we went back out again, and we stayed there till about 3. And that was awesome. I mean, it was such a cool experience to be there when the crowds are kind of dead and the place is all lit up and you have all the rides and access to yourself. So I do miss that. I would love another chance to do that. However, if I'm thinking about how I would like to do that in the future, I would say probably early morning, because that way you get everything done and go back to bed and at a reasonable hour and do it all again the next day.
So you say early in the morning.
Might as well. I mean, I'm up. My mind tends to wake me up. I'd like to just get up and get out and start doing stuff.
So I am, you guys know, I'm, retired military. So and now I'm a school teacher. So really for the last almost 30 years, I've been up really early in the mornings. And now as a school teacher, I get up at 4:30 every morning to lift weights before I go to work, because there's no time to do it at the end of the day when I get home. So I am certainly an early riser, and have been for, like I said, almost 30 years now. With that said, on vacation, I definitely do not get up that early. My internal clock or whatever kind of gets me up. I wake up naturally, usually around between 5:30 and 6:30 every day anyway. So
You go to bed early as well?
oh, so during the school year, when I get up at 4:30, oh yeah, I'm falling asleep by 9:30, and usually it's lights out by 10. Right now, because I'm still on summer break, at least for one more week. Sorry, let me dry these tears. I'm on summer break for one more week. I stay up later, usually 11ish or so, because I still get up. I set my alarm. If I'm not already awake, I have my alarm set for 6:30. Even in the summer, I get up every morning at 6:30 so I can exercise and stuff before I start my day, even though my day is typically, just hanging out around the house or doing whatever. I still get up and exercise in the mornings. So I am a morning person, but on vacation, I'm not. I don't typically set alarms when I'm on vacation, and I'm happy to sleep in until like 6:45, So, and we don't typically, since we have family that we go with a lot, or family that we go with, and we go there a lot, we almost never spend an entire day in the park anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We typically will not even, if it's during the summer when it's really, really hot, we don't even go into the park until usually 3 or 4 o'clock. And then we'll stay for, the cooler hours, and we'll stay for the fireworks and all that kind of stuff. So I am definitely, while I have taken advantage of the mornings, I would say I'm definitely an extra magic hour at the end of the day kind of guy. Now, if I was getting up and getting there in the morning and staying all day long, like both of you said, I'm done by 8 o'clock. I don't think I could, get up, be in the park at 8 or 9 or whatever, and then stay until midnight or 1 o'clock. Those days are long behind me. But since we don't
how late would you like to stay though? Because I mentioned before we had those extra late night hours. So what would you like to stay if you
I've never done like you're saying, like 3 o'clock in the morning. I haven't stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning since I was in my 20s. I don't think. I don't see any reason to do that. But I have been in the parks at like 1 a.m. I think there may be some Halloween parties or something. I don't know what it was, but maybe it was extra magic hours. I don't know. But the park closed at 1. So I've been there that late, never 3:30 on the carousel like you're talking about.
Yeah.
But and even that was 10 or 15 years ago. Now that I'm almost 50, I'm not looking to stay up till 1 a.m. I don't care. I don't care if I can get on, whatever ride, Space Mountain. I don't care. I don't want to be up at 1 a.m. anymore. So
yeah, we did the Princess, what was it? Pirates and Princess.
Yes.
Which, dude, that's one of the only late night things that didn't take off that Disney's done. But we had literally almost had the park to ourselves. And I don't remember how late it was, but it was with 2 small girls and it felt pretty late and it was really, really awesome. I mean, they fell in love with, was it Goofy's Barnstormer? Barnstormer. And
Turtle Crest.
If we rode that thing one time, we rode it 10 times in a row. It was crazy. Just running. They wouldn't just let us stay on. You had to get off, run around the queue.
Yeah.
So.
But it's such a cool feeling to be there at that hour because you almost feel like you're not supposed to be, but everything's still alive and running and I really do miss that. I miss the ability to do that. But then the next day you can't really do anything. You're going to be knocked out.
Yeah.
You're not getting up for rope drop the next morning. That's
yeah,
for sure.
I know.
All right. So I guess that's 2 nights and 1 morning. I think that's what we ended up with, right? Ron said extra magic hours at night. Tony said extra magic hours in the morning. And I tipped the scales. Oh my gosh, I feel bad. I agreed with Ron. It's horrible. You and I agreed, but you're still wrong. How did that happen? I don't even know how that's possible.
Oh my gosh.
All right, fellas. So that just about does it there for What's Your Favorite. Thanks for playing along with us. Those of you that are listening on your favorite streaming service or maybe watching us on YouTube or a video, we got the video podcast now on Spotify. We're all over the place. So let us know what you think. What is your favorite? Do you prefer the morning extra magic hours before the park closes? Or are you one of those late night folks that likes to stay up late and ride the carousel until 3 a.m. with Tony? So let us know what you think in the comments or shoot us an email or however you want to get in touch with us. We want to hear from y'all. And that just about does it for this episode of the WDW Reflections podcast. Please find and follow us on all of our social media accounts. We can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at WDW Reflections Podcast, and on Twitter or X, whatever you're calling it these days, at WDW Reflections. This podcast can currently be found and played on many podcast platforms, and we'd love it if you'd give the show a follow wherever you listen. And if you love the show, please leave us some feedback on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Those positive feedbacks help the show reach a larger audience and helps us grow. Make sure to check out the website at wdwreflectionspodcast.com. And don't forget, you can always message us from any of those social media accounts, or you can email us at wdwreflectionspodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from y'all. And please keep coming back because we truly appreciate you. Thanks for reflecting on Walt Disney World memories with us. on the WDW Reflections podcast. See you real soon.